Hello, everyone. The first question I have is, can you go over how this can connect Mount Baker and Beacon Hill Greenways? And I will give that question to Jonathan.
All right, I think I'm unmuted. To get to the Beacon Hill Greenway from here, probably your best bet would be to take the proposed MLK protected bike lane up to the I-90 path and then cut west, and that provides a pretty direct connection to the Beacon Hill Greenway. As for Mount Baker, today what you could do is you could take Mount Baker Boulevard to the intersection of MLK and Rainier, and then get on the protected bike lane at that point. In the future, we are looking at, we have an extension to the Mount Baker Greenway that's pretty much wrapped up with design that we should be building over the next couple of years. And that would provide a much more direct connection either at the I-90 trail or at South Massachusetts Street.
Thank you, Jonathan. The next question will be, do you know what year construction is expected to happen?
Our goal for this project has been to have it ready by the time that Judkins Park Station opens, which is 2023. Now that we're starting to get the design developed, we can begin to work on the schedule. Right now, we're thinking that we could begin construction as early as next year with the goal of having construction done by 2022. From what I've heard, Sound Transit's their whole Eastlink project, or at least Judkins Park Station, is either on schedule or ahead of schedule. So we definitely want to be able to meet that by the time it opens.
Thank you. And another question for you. What was the reasoning for the north end start of the proposed protected bike lane? Why not bring it up to Jackson?
Yeah, our goal with this project was to get people to the I-90 trail, and going a little bit past that to Judkins Street gives people another option with which they can use to get to the central area neighborhood greenway. There are basic bike lanes on MLK Way today. They could use some maintenance, and we're aware that they're not an all ages and abilities facility. Your best bet for continuing north, at least for the short term, would be to take the central area neighborhood greenway.
Thank you. Safety of PBOs are often protected bike lanes are often impaired by accumulated leaves and glass. Can you address your plan for the protected bike lane maintenance?
Yeah, over the last year or two, we've acquired specialized equipment that can fit in the protected bike lanes, and that's made sweeping and maintenance a lot easier than it has been in the past. In a couple of the particular narrow areas, we might still have to get people out there to clear up by hands with broom, but protected bike lane maintenance is definitely a priority and something that we've been improving over the last year or two.
What is the age and abilities this area has been designed for usage or would be ideal?
Yeah, when we work on protected bike lanes, we want them to work for everyone. We want them to be an all ages and abilities facility. So when we're working on the design, we try and make them simple, clear, and easy to understand. So we hope that the protected bike lane we are able to build it to a level that it can be considered all ages and abilities. We want people from 8 to 80 to feel comfortable using it and to understand how it works and how to use it. Not just biking along it, but also driving next to it and walking next to it as well.
And tell us about the decision-making process. Who will make the final decision on the design?
Yeah. Decision-making is being made by SDOT for the final decisions about various project elements based on how well they function for safety, for connectivity, feasibility, and cost. We have been working with the public over the spring. We're doing a check-in now, and then we're going to take what we're learning right now and then take that and use it to improve our design. we'll probably next be reaching out to the public probably October, once we've developed this a little bit further to get more comments and reactions.
Okay. Will the MLK Rainier intersection have full protection for bike lanes and full curb ramps and protected signal phases for bikes and peds?
Yeah, so at the MLK and Rainier intersection, we're still working on that design, but we are including many of the what are called the accessible Mount Baker near-term pedestrian improvements. Those were identified last winter as part of a public process. So that will include a new crosswalk on the southern leg of the Rainier and MLK intersection, as well as curb ramps and other improvements.
Next question, can you address how you will handle intersections and reduce risk of right hook collisions with turning motor vehicles?
At the intersections that have a high volume of vehicles that are turning right, we will be using signals to separate people. So essentially, if you are traveling through the area straight on a bike, you will have a separate signal phase from vehicles that would be turning right. This is at several of the locations. At other locations, it will be through signage and using posts, paint, and other materials to help guide people through their turns.
Will the bike lanes be safe enough for cargo bikes or other large family style bikes?
Our goal is that they would be. I think likely the only difficulty that would be encountered for larger bikes may be some of the bike boxes, but we can take a look at that. With the widths, it should work with pretty much everything that people are riding around Seattle today, including some of the adaptive bicycles and tricycles that are a little bit wider than standard.
Okay, and the next question I have is it the intention to change the speed limit of MLK Way to 25 miles per hour, for example, from Madison Central District through Mount Baker and to Columbia City?
I'm not sure about segment by segment. I believe that at least in this area, we did recently reduce the speed limit to 25 miles per hour. I think that went out March and either March or April. We've not yet done a study to see whether that is leading to changes in the speeds that drivers are actually taking, just because everything is kind of weird due to the pandemic, and we expect there to be fewer people driving and at a higher speed. But we do want to take a look and see how the speed limit change has affected drivers. We also want this project to effectively change the way that the road looks and acts today, so that it is something that people who are driving will feel natural and comfortable traveling at 25 miles per hour, as opposed to the old speed of which was averaging about 35 to 38 miles per hour.
Thank you, Jonathan. Is there any way to separate cyclists and pedestrians on the northbound stretch between McClellan and Bayview?
In that area, I believe we were proposing essentially 11 feet of space with 6 feet being given to people walking in both directions, and 5 feet being available for people biking northbound. We're currently planning on having a detectable warning strip as well as symbols for a person walking and a person biking to help mark out dedicated space for the two user groups. You might have seen that detectable yellow strip we're looking at a couple locations downtown. It's present all along the Westlake cycle track near South Lake Union. It's also present near the 7th Ave protected bike lane.
Okay, and the next question, your current design shows 5-foot lane width. Will this be preserved throughout, or are there pinch points where the lane will be narrower?
For now, our goal is to have it be at least 5 feet. We have no pinch point where it goes beneath 5 feet. If something does have to get pinched, I think it'll probably be on that block between South Massachusetts Street and South Grand Street. But right now, the minimum width for the bike lane is 5 foot. And in most places throughout the corridor, it's either going to be 6 foot or 7 foot.
Okay, next question. It was mentioned that concrete barriers may be used in certain segments instead of flex posts. What would this look like?
The exact design of the concrete barrier is yet to be determined. It could either be either a poured curb, which would look similar to some of the other designs that you may have seen throughout the city. It could also take the form of something that's prefabricated, so think more of a Jersey barrier type design. And we'll hopefully be able to present what that barrier will look like at the next meeting. We definitely want to include that concrete protection at a couple key spots throughout the project area where we think additional separation is really going to help out both people driving and people using the bike lane and also the sidewalks next to it as well.
Okay, thank you. Can you describe a little bit more about the Bayview MLK intersection?
At the Bayview and MLK intersection, probably the biggest change that we are proposing is adding the new a southern leg to that crosswalk. Right now, there's a leg on the north side, there's a leg on the west side, but there's no crosswalk on the south side because there's no sidewalk. If we were able to fill that gap as part of the project, then we'd be introducing that new crosswalk leg, which include a new pedestrian signal and also new curb ramps to help people get to the existing sidewalk and also the new multi-use path.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you will protect bikes on the sharp U-turn from northbound MLK to Bayview?
Northbound MLK to Bayview, I believe that is the location where we're proposing the concrete barrier. We look at the way that vehicles are making that turn, and that's definitely one of the areas where we want to have concrete between the different user groups.
Okay, and a follow-up to the decision-making question earlier. The answer that was given was SDOT. Does that mean one person? If so, who is that?
I believe the final sign-off would likely be made by the director of SDOT, Sam Zimbabwe. It could also be made by my supervisor's supervisor, who is Jim Curtin, who assists us with projects that are in this phase of early design.
Thank you. And next question. How will the connection between the Greenway and the north end of the on-street PBO? Many riders will cut through the Thurgood Marshall parking lot. Is there a plan to add a concrete sidewalk there?
Not right now, but we'll take a look at that. I believe the best way to get between the central area neighborhood Greenway and the proposed protected bike lane would be going through the I-90 trail and using that short segment to connect the two. That short segment of the I-90 trail is also going to be your best bet to get to the new Judkins Park station, which is going to feature a secured bike parking area right on that east entrance on 23rd Ave, kind of where it hits the I-90 trail.
Okay. Is there any possibility for the portions that have flex posts in the design to be changed to more robust or safe options, such as curbs?
I believe that will depend on what our budget situation looks like and what the cost estimates end up being. Right now, we definitely do want concrete in those key locations that I discussed earlier. But if the funding situation were to improve, it would be great if we could have that throughout the whole project.
Okay. And how does this project mesh with the ultimate uncrossing of Rainier and MLK?
That kind of the longer term AMB vision is not something that we'll be able to get done by 2024, which is when the current levy to move Seattle ends. Some of the short-term improvements that we'll be making in the area would be compatible with that eventual vision. But there are other projects that need to happen first, like the transit center relocation, the UW, laundry redevelopments, and a couple others in the area before that long-term accessible Mount Baker vision would be possible.
Okay, next question. Are bike signals planned in the corridor? And though this wasn't about a bike signal, when I wait in the left turn lane on Bayview and turn onto MLK, the sensor doesn't pick up my bike. Can we get that fixed soon?
The sensors, the detector loops, which are the sensors embedded in the pavement to let the signals know when someone is waiting, those will be replaced and upgraded as part of this project at Bayview. The other part was bicycle signal heads, I believe. We're currently evaluating whether or not those are required if we're using the regular signal heads to give people essentially either a right turn arrow or a green ball to proceed forward.
Thank you. Next question. Has design taken into account the amount of car wrecks in the Massachusetts area and how that might affect bikers? Is there any kind of actions that will be taken to keep bikers safe? The wrecks total cars, so I don't think the pipes will protect bikers.
Yeah, at this location, we're looking at using the signals to help separate the different user groups. Some of the movements are already separated at Massachusetts and MLK. It's looking like we can add some additional signal separation without impacting traffic delays.
Thank you. The parking will be preserved on the west side of MLK, correct?
Yes, right now we're looking at preserving parking between South Massachusetts Street and South Holgate Street on the west side of MLK. This is the area where the parking tends to be a lot busier than other parts of the corridor. Between Massachusetts Street and Judkins Street, we will likely be removing some of the parking on the west side of the street. And that area is not as utilized north of Massachusetts Street. We're also looking at adding additional parking to MLK. That would be on the west side of the street, south of South Holgate Street. But that's definitely an area we'd love some public feedback on, and I believe that's going to be one of the questions in the survey that should be live right at the end of this meeting.
Okay. How will this project integrate with the I-90 trail? Will it be possible to easily make a left turn from the bike lane onto the I-90 trail?
The signal that's in place now will still be in place. You could merge into the travel lane and then turn left using the median, but probably your best option would be when you're traveling on the bike lane to then use the curb ramp to get to the trail crossing and then wait for the crossing light at that point.
Okay, just looking for any missed questions.
Let's see. I see a comment. Please preserve this parking south of Massachusetts Street. We're definitely trying to retain as much of that parking as possible while still making safety improvements, and would be replacing some of the parking that is removed. I see.
Okay, I have a question here. Will the bike stopping at MLK and Walker be set back from the crosswalk? There are a large concentration of blind and deaf residents and employees of the lighthouse that cross that intersection and need unobstructed path at the crosswalk.
Yeah, we can take that comment and look at the design for essentially where the stop bar will be. We'll also be reaching out to Lighthouse to the Blind to get some perspective and feedback from that group. But good comment. We'll take that back.
Okay. It was mentioned that concrete barriers may be used in certain segments instead of flex posts. What will this look like?
I think we might have done that one. I think that The exact form of the concrete barrier is yet to be determined. It's probably going to be either poured curb, which you would see in locations like the new Bell Street protected bike lane, or it could be more of a precast design, so think a Jersey barrier. That's something that we'll be determining over the next couple weeks, and we'll be coming back with what that looks like this fall.
Okay, and one more question. I'm curious if any of the pedestrian improvements from MLK to Mount Baker Station will happen earlier than 2023.
Yes, our goal right now, our schedule is looking like we can begin construction next year, and then that would mean that most construction would be wrapped up by 2022. Those improvements right near Mount Baker Station are super important to the project, and we want to get those included.
Okay, and I believe you answered this, but just in case I missed it, what is your maintenance plan for the flex posts that are used to
Let's see. Yeah, we had a question on sweeping and surface maintenance, but with flex posts, what we've done over the last couple of years is we've kind of gone out in kind of one batch to replace flex posts throughout the city. We'll likely be continuing that at least for the next couple of years, having essentially large batches where we go out and replace many flex posts across the city at the same time. Certainly, the more we can use things like concrete or planters, that means the less we're having to go out and maintain and change out those materials.
Okay, thank you. And I'm just looking for any more questions.
I saw one that had slipped through. Would you consider grade separation between peds and bikes? If the budget would allow, then that's definitely something we want to include. Right now, it's looking like we probably wouldn't be able to do that as part of this project. The separation would be provided by one of those plastic detectable warning strips, which is pretty similar to what you see on a curb ramp, or at spots like the Westlake Cycle Track or 7th Ave in downtown.
Okay, and the I-90 trail needs improved signage to direct people to various connections. For example, Junkins Park, MLK, Beacon Hill Greenway, Central Area Greenway. Who is responsible for wayfinding, and can you work with them to make these improvements?
Yeah, typically wayfinding for people who are biking or walking or using the neighborhood greenway and trail networks is SDOT's responsibility, and so that will be something we look at updating as part of this project. I believe we might have to get permission from WashDOT and from Seattle Parks to update those signs, but that wouldn't be an issue. We definitely want to make sure that people know where they're going and what's the best route to get there.
Thank you. And the next question, does SDOT plan to do any outreach to help educate people about the new travel option when it opens, hopefully in coordination with Sound Transit?
There will likely be some sort of education closer to when Judkins Park Station is going to open. SDOT, we're also working on a couple other sidewalk and related walking and biking improvements near the station. And it would be good to include the existence of this project in that.
Thank you. And how many residents who live just south of Massachusetts on the west side of MLK have you spoken with?
We have not collected address information with any of the outreach that we've been doing so far. We've been sending mailers to the homes that are in the immediate area around the project. We do have zip code information from the online outreach that we've been doing, and the 98144 zip code has been the one that has responded the most. That's the one right around the project area. We're also getting pretty good representation as well from the zip codes to the north, south, and west, the immediate project area. But we don't have any address information.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. And I believe that it's all of the questions, unless you have any on your end.
All right, yeah, looks like we were able to get to everyone's question. Again, apologies for some of the AV issues where some people weren't able to either see or hear the presentation. Hopefully our recording of this will be more legible for everyone.
We also will have the presentation uploaded to the web page so that people can view just the presentation on its own. If we don't have any more questions that we're receiving in, we will be taking all the questions we've received and providing a document on the web page with the questions and answers. So you can look for those too. So we'll make sure the project inbox is available for folks to drop in their comments, and we have the online surveys available on the project web page.
And I have a question.
Sorry. Oh, you got another one? Sorry.
Yes. Is it possible to go door to door to the residents, because they are the ones that are directly impacted by the project?
We have been exploring doing door to door on a limited basis. We've obviously been in some constrained times in terms of doing our typical outreach, but we do have plans to engage the community a little bit more as we move into the fall, so later this summer and into the fall. So there is intention to reach out to certain residents. So we'll have more information about that.
Okay, and that's it for the questions.
Jonathan, do you have any closing remarks you want to add before we close out the meeting and we can share the presentation and all the information on our webpage for everyone?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for virtually showing up tonight and for your questions and comments. Please take a look at the survey that we'll be sending out with a couple of specific design questions for you all. We did online outreach back in the spring in April and May. And what we learned there was really helpful as we worked on the design. So please take a look at that link, should be going out pretty soon. I'll also put in a pitch if you're interested in SDOT projects in this part of the city. We will be having a meeting tomorrow night on the proposed Beacon Ave protected bike lane project as well. Same time, same format. We'll see if we can improve AV by then.
And I've just dropped in a link just to have it handy for folks. If you want to click on it now while we're in the meeting, it'll take you right to the project webpage for the MLK project. Well, thank you everyone for attending. I think we're going to wrap it up then, and we look forward to hearing from you on the online survey, and feel free to reach us through the project inbox. Thank you.